This is me when I was an infant. I was born in the mid-1960s. I'm almost 60 years old now. I'm one of 65.2 million members of Generation X in the United States. I'm a Gen Xer. I was a young child when the Vietnam War was happening. I remember when I was 4 or 5 years old watching the Apollo 11 moon landing on television. I was a college student when the Cold War ended with the fall of the Berlin Wall, and I watched the rise of the personal computer. This is my dad when he was a baby. My paternal grandparents in this film are much younger than I remember them. My dad was just a toddler when his dad, my grandfather, joined the Navy to be a sailor on a battleship in the South Pacific during World War II. My grandparents were members of the greatest generation. They were born during the first decade of the 20th century. They came of age during the Great Depression and later fought in the Second World War. They suffered and sacrificed a lot, but they persevered with a strong work ethic and a deep sense of personal responsibility. My parents were born in the late 1930s and early 1940s. They were teenagers during the 1950s. As members of the silent generation or early baby boomers, they came of age during the post-World War II boom, the beginning of the Cold War, Beatlemania, and the Civil Rights Movement. They remembered where they were when President Kennedy was assassinated. We were a nuclear family, me and my parents and one sibling, my younger brother. My dad was an officer in the U.S. Air Force during the Vietnam War. He loved fishing and cooking. After the war, he was a lawyer and a judge. My mom was a teacher. She loved teaching and she liked to paint. My mom stopped her teaching career to take care of me and my brother while we were going to school. After I graduated from college, my mom returned to teaching and she and my dad became empty nesters. My parents met in high school and my dad said it was love at first sight. They continued to date while they attended the same university. After they graduated from college, they got married. They had a big wedding at a church followed by a reception. Immediately after the wedding, they drove to Niagara Falls for their honeymoon and enjoyed a romantic week together at the honeymoon capital of the world. I grew up living near my extended family. We saw each other regularly at family reunions. We got together with my dad's side of the family on Independence Day, on the 4th of July. We got together with my mom's side of the family on Thanksgiving Day in November. We also met during the Christmas and Easter holidays, as well as birthdays, weddings, and funerals. At these events, I saw my grandparents, great-grandparents, uncles and aunts, and cousins. I had lots of cousins, and we always had a lot of fun when we got together. I met my wife in Japan in the mid-1980s. I was studying there as an exchange student through my university. After I returned to the U.S. and graduated from college, my wife and I decided to get married. We had a traditional Christian wedding at a church in Japan, but we wore traditional kimono at the reception. My wife and I raised our children in both Japan and the US. We have a daughter who was born in Japan and a son born in the US. As members of the millennial generation, or Generation Y, our kids grew up during the rapid rise of the internet and mobile devices. They remember the 9/11 terrorist attacks, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the election and presidency of Barack Obama, America's first black president.
Hello, everybody.
These are some of my students in China. I've been teaching them English for the past several years, both in China and online. They are members of Generation Z, also known as Zoomers. The majority of today's incoming college students in the world are members of this generation, born between the mid-1990s and early 2010s. They are the largest generation ever and the most culturally diverse, comprising almost 30% of the world's population. Globally, there are almost 2 billion of them. Gen Z are the first generation to grow up entirely with the internet, mobile devices, and social media. Before COVID-19, they were expected to enter the workforce during a time of economic prosperity, but this is no longer the case. It has not been easy for Zoomers graduating from college to find jobs and internships. They also witnessed their parents' financial struggles during the Great Recession of 2008, so they are more driven by pragmatism and security, but they are also entrepreneurial and want to start their own business. This is my grandson. He is a member of Generation Alpha. His generation is the youngest alive today and the first to be born entirely in the 21st century. He's already lived through a global pandemic, and he's been using digital technology since he was a baby. What other events will shape the future of his generation? My parents and grandparents are no longer living, but we still get together as an extended family with my children and grandchildren, uncles and aunts and cousins. Our families today are more blended and multicultural than the families of previous generations. Most American families include step-parents, step-siblings, half-siblings, and step-grandparents. This is due to the increasing rate of divorce in our society. One positive thing about blended families is that it gives our children more people to connect with and helps them feel even more loved. While the world changes and our families become more blended, the need for loving and supportive families is no less important than it was when my grandparents were alive.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
My family is not perfect, but we try our best to support each other and strengthen our connections with each other so that our children get the love and support they need to grow up and take care of themselves and make a positive contribution to society.